Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now on today's topic board is taboo or forbidden sex. That's sex that, if you did when you were younger, you were really negatively looked at. And that stuff was not done. That is unnatural. And whatever you can think of was said. However, in today's society, and as time has gone on, or continues, shall we say, it is becoming more and more accepted. So, we're going to kind of sort of list a few of them off, and then I'll tell you which one I've picked for our segment today. And we're going to end out with, some positions for those of you with a bad back who want to still have that ultimate orgasm and have some serious sex with your partner. So that is what is in store today. So let's get started. And with the first taboo or forbidden sex is the anilingus. Obviously, right at the beginning, your anus, or your anal cavity, shall I say, is more and more open now, and more done behind closed, just generally, and giving a mild definition, it's sexual stimulation of the anus by tongue or mouth. And there are those individuals who are loving that. So it is a lot of taboo, and forbidden sex is something that you've got to kind of sort of, in a layman's term, have a stomach for, or really have a desire to do. But hey, you never know. You might just want to try it because it's something new. It might just take your sexual acts or the sex in the bedroom to another level. So I'm moving on to public sex. Obviously, sometimes you just want to do it out in the open, but don't get caught. And this is the whole idea with regards to public sex. It's a turn on. Make sure the weather is good. But then again, be like 9.5 weeks and have sex up against the wall in the rain. Could be a really fun for both of you. But again, do not get caught. The next is not working with a knife here. Remember, a lot of communication and mindfulness with this, and Joe, ECC, educate, communicate, and consent. That is something very, very big. With all of these you need, but when you're actually bringing a very sharp object into the sex play in the bedroom, you really need to, that safe word better be loud and clear. Let's just put it that way. And then the next is pegging. And most of you out there probably know what this is, but just to define it for those who do not, it is when the woman performs oral, anal sex, on a man by penetrating his anus with a strapped-on dildo. Does not have to be strapped on, but the whole idea behind it is to have another view, shall we say, for the woman. It could be, turned on for them. It's also a way of we are able to see exactly what a man sees or a partner sees during doggy style, and they seem to like that style a lot. It seems to be what they like to perform. So it gives you that dominance in that upper hand there. It is a very big turn on for some men. Now, just to let you know, there are some men will go limp while you do this. Does not mean they are not enjoying it. They very much are. It's just where the nerves are located by the genitals, kind of cuts it off. There are other men or people who, individuals or partners, what you want to call it, who actually are completely turned on and gets them hotter and hotter. So there are two ways looking at it, but the whole idea behind pegging is a woman to a man. And just to know that. Now the next one is the rusty trombone, which is when your partner is giving you a hand job at the same time. Is, given that anus, the area in your behind, play with either their mouth, their tongue, their hand, whatever way they want to do it, but they are doing that for you while they are giving you a hand job. So you're getting the 2-for-1 deal with that one. That lovely rusty trombone. Now, most people have heard of that one and others have not. The next, very simple, dressing up. Yes, we usually dress up for one another and do role playing. This is a different kind of dress up, people. It is when the man wants to wear the woman, sexy lacy underwears or some of your undergarments or your clothes, which turns them on. And you could be out somewhere. It's kind of hot to them, so let them do it. You can rip them off later like they would do to you if they were on you. So think about that. Next one is adult breastfeeding, exactly how it sounds. Generally, this is a turn on for some men, and most of us might remember Me, Myself, and Irene, where the woman was breastfeeding her baby, and then all of a sudden he's being breastfed by her, which she didn't know, but in this sense, both of you will know and do this. It is, that sexual desire to be treated like a baby, total turn on for a partner. So it doesn't have to be just a man, it could be a woman or whatever, but it is that turn on that you are treating them like a baby and breastfeeding them or doing something that a mother would do to their baby, mainly breastfeeding because it is adult breastfeeding. Foot fetishes, there are a lot of fetishes out there. Foot fetishes obviously are our second hands, our feet. A lot of people are turned on by the toe cleavage. Think of it, starting out that way in a nice pair of stilettos. And then it will go into where, with the foot fetish, the sucking of the toes, you giving them a foot job and getting them off that way, using your toes instead of your fingers to enter areas of the body cavities or, stimulating the genitals. It is considered a taboo because there are feet. We walk on these all day long. They are shoes, and our feet should not do that. But nowadays, it is more acceptable. Next one on our list is exhibitionism. Now that, my dear, is, again, sex in public. But this time, you want to be caught. It might just be that you're with your partner at home and you're having sex with the door open and you have a screen door, or you have the curtains pulled back and your neighbors can see you. It's the idea of being seen by other people and they're watching you. It is a complete turn on to some individuals. If that's what you like, go for it. That is a taboo and or a forbidden sex. But nowadays, it's a little bit more. So you're not doing anything out of that ordinary. You're just doing it where you're going to get caught. Next one is urolagnia. Now, obviously the beginning of this word, as you can well believe, has to do with urine. So just to define it again, another word for those of you who do not know what it is, a tendency to derive sexual pleasure from the sight or thought of urination, which has just been brought out in public, which has not been, a quiet thing in the past, but the mere fact that our president talked about that golden shower. So that is a way of looking at that. Did we want to hear that from him? I don't think so, but he is human. He has a sexual drive. It just shows what gets someone off, and you can be empowered to do that. So, and last but not least, obviously, which is usually always taboo or forbidden, is BDSM. Throw some spanking in there, some domination, and you got yourself a party. But with all sexual acts, please remember to educate, communicate, and consent. Always have a safe word, because you do not want to hurt your partner or anything of that nature. So you want to make sure that this is something that both of you want to do, and you're both understanding and consenting to it. So remember that these aren't things that just go out there and, okay, they're just going to like it. They might just think you're crazy, especially if it's someone new. Get to know each other first, a little bit more than that. Even nowadays, you kind of sort of, the minute you meet somebody, it first turns into sex anyway. And that's how our society is. Back in the day, we weren't so open. So that's how that will go. Now, given you all those taboo or forbidden sexual acts, the one I picked for the topic of the remainder of the show is pegging. Found this quite interesting, so I thought, why not talk about it? So, we will be talking about pegging. So let's get started. Again, at the end of the show, and during the last segment, we will, I will, shall I say, I will give some positions that are really good during sex for people with bad backs. And hey, who's to say? You can use them without a bad back. Don't ever think that these are not good for that. So, let's start with a lovely guide, and then we'll go on to the beginner of it all. As if you are new to pegging, there are a few things you should know on how to get into it. Now, here's a lovely little guide for pegging your partner with a strap on. Now, granted, people are getting more and more kinkier, to give a nice word for sex, but does it make you a better lover? Some people believe it does. if you want to actually look at it, it probably does. It gives you an understanding of being on the opposite side of that, especially in a male-female relationship. It's usually the man who is dominant over the woman when it comes to sex. And there you go to, their favorite little position is doggy style. Well, this gives the woman the other hand. So it is something that you can think of and do and not have to worry about. So, let's start off. Now, again, pegging is a woman who performs anal sex on a man by penetrating his anus with a strap-on dildo or without a strap-on dildo, which one you prefer, but I think it's much more pleasing with. And, make sure you use a lot of lubricant, a rubber. Go slow, because in the beginning, it might be a little bit discomfort, and, constantly talk to your partner to make sure that they are feeling okay with this. Who's to say they may have already had a partner before that and have done it? So don't worry. That is what it is all about. Now we're going to take a break here, and I like to give you a little tease for when we come back. So get that drink, get that snack, come back, get relaxed, and meet me here for some more sex talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am still your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, just to recap on the last segment, before our lovely commercials, I just gave you a list and a little background on some taboo or forbidden sex acts. And then I picked one. Woo woo! And we are going to talk about that, which is pegging. Gave a little definition, but for all of you who are just tuning in, pegging is when a woman performs a sexual act on a man by penetrating his anal cavity, his anus, with a strapped-on dildo, or if they want to do it without a strapped-on dildo, go for it. But do remember, when you are doing this, please use lots of lubricant, use a rubber, and go slow when first at it. If your partner is a pro at it already and has had it done before, you may not have to do that, but just to cover you, please do. Remember to educate yourself, communicate, and always consent. Have that safe word. And that goes for both partners. Now, a lot of scientists just love to say if something or a sex act has a name associated with it, it just makes it easier for us to understand or to, go in and find out about it, which is always a good thing. And just going by that, and we do have some kooky names for sex acts that are out there: fisting and squirting and Oh my, kalingalingaling. Come on. Some of these words are so scientific. It kind of sort of changes your mind about some things. But needless to say, they do have a name. We may have given it layman's terms, but there are scientific names. We'll just go with the layman's. A lot more easier for us to find out or to use. It might be the way you say it, and it turns you on. Who's to say? It might even turn you on enough that you want to try it if you have not tried it before. So, pegging it is. Now, why are so many people turned on to pegging? Well, technically and scientifically, our quote-unquote butthole is lined with erogenous nerve endings. So, a lot, and which is a well-known fact, women, if the man does play around with your anal and put, with their finger or the other way, they will tell you that they have found that their orgasm is much more intense. So let's flip the pages and do that for the man. They have to, love it as well. So, and it's, everybody is different. When you have a prostate, obviously massaging that is a sexual turn on for a man, and all of that. Just that stimulation of the prostate, where is basically that is a whole other orgasm that would be available to them. So let them feel it. They're going out of their way to do it for us. So let us do it for them. Some men will not do that. They're still out there, but I'm assured nowadays men are into much more stuff, and they may not bring it out in the beginning, which is not fair to you. Because if you start liking them, this is, new relationship, and you're getting into it, and then all of a sudden, they throw this at you, and you had no intentions of even trying this. You have never thought about it. However, there are those who have, but have never done. So there's the difference. You might actually have that chance to try it. And, they like to label this particular orgasm like the prostate or the P spot. It is 3 or 4 inches inside the rectum of a man, and it's about 1 inch in diameter. So think about that wiggle room there to play around with. And obviously, as you are penetrating and going slow, constantly talk to your partner. And then as you are getting that dildo in there, start to basically change the angle to get that prostate all you've got. So, they can usually tell you, or let you know when you have found it, because they can feel it. And they start to feel this sensation that is reminiscent of an orgasm. So it allows you to, know that you're doing it right, and they will talk to you and let you know. It is stimulating, gives them that orgasm. Granted, like I said, some men become limp because you are messing with that erogenous zone outside of that. Not completely outside of that, but you're taking away from their outie. So, but there are other men who actually get harder. So it all depends on the particular person. Now, both partners, commonly referred to as the bottom, which is the receptive partner, and the top, the penetrating partner. And you may enjoy this quote-unquote taboo or forbidden sex act of some sort of role reversal, like I explained earlier. This is when the women can find out what this doggy style is all about and feel that dominance, and that male is subservient to you and just trying to see what they see, and it can be a complete and utter turn on for you. There is a power dynamics to it. So this is where, that erotic power exchange comes in. And this is one of those things that pegging can also be brought into the dynamics of BDSM, because you are messing with and you're penetrating the anal. But it is all about getting that awesome orgasm. So if you're not into all that BDSM, do go right about doing it. This is not stopping you from doing that. Now, some products or techniques you should use. Well, as I said, to have safe pegging, it requires taking time and care that you would use during any anal penetration. You may, before you get that all done, before inserting the dildo, you might want to insert your finger. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it without something, I'd use a rubber glove. Just be the doctor. Role play and tell them to bend over and cough. And there you go. So you've got to use a lot of lubricant. If you're starting with your finger and inserting that, get it to the point where you're using one, then, gradually put in 2, then 3 if you want to. This way, you're getting that same effect and they're getting used to that feeling. And once you get to that and they're comfortable with it, just replace your fingers with your dildo. And then, again, lube it up. It is very, very important because you do not want to hurt them. It is a delicate area for both sexes, and a lot of damage can be done. So lots of lube. Even if you have that condom, lube it up even more. Get a little slippery in there, but it will give a little bit more ease. Again, this is a way of beginning, because remember, lots of muscles there. It is tighter. Men really like it, 1, for the view, 2, for the fact that it is tighter, and that gets them off faster. So imagine that on your end when you are doing this with a dildo. Now there is a lubricant which does not deteriorate toys or dildos, which you might want to look into getting, it's called Siliquid H2O, which it's flavorless, bleh, and scentless. So it is, as it states, H2O, water-based, so it does not deteriorate that toy or do any harm to the partner who is receiving this. Now, you can start off with foreplay or get all into it before you go right into that act. Why not start out with a butt plug so that you get nice and warmed up to the feeling of what you're going to do with the dildo. They'll already have something in there. The anal hole will be opened a little bit or whatever. There is one that is called the Snug Plug from B-Vibe. So remember, there are a lot of other butt plugs out there. Please go and pick some out together. You might just want one. If you see one that you kind of like and think is cute or something, it might be much easier and much more comfortable and more susceptible for the act itself. So you do want to go with your friend, your partner, whoever it is you're going to do this with. So they all do come out in different shapes and sizes, and remember that. So Same thing with the harness. There are different types that are very sexy. There are leather, there are latex, there are all kinds. There are even chained ones. So you can pick that out together as well. There are some that are really sexy, and there's one called the Minx harness, and this one's from Asian leather. So remember, or even right there in the name, it is leather. There is a tomboy, and boy is actually spelled B-O-I-I. It's one word, tomboy. Boxer briefs that, allow you to hold the dildo in place. So that's something else where you can even push this pegging a little bit more to the limit. Like with the man wearing a lacy underwears, why not wear their boxer shorts? Ones that are secure enough and such to your hips and also that you get that same effect. Remember, this is all about changing the roles and giving your partner a bigger orgasm, a more satisfying orgasm, and they are basically going to remember this and want to do it again, obviously. So there's one way of looking at that. You can use a vibrating anal dildo. There are those out there. There's the Riley vibrating dildo that seems to be quite popular. I'm sure you have some others. There are ones. There's one that's called Your Highness vibrating dildo. Broad City strap-on set. These are all kinds of things that you can look at. But I'm assured that when it's going to come down to this act, you either already have toys or you and your partner can go out and get a new one for it. It might just be like trying on clothes. Give a little, fashion show. Or if they tell you that go out and surprise them, well, there you go. All the decision making is left on you. Just remember what you're going to be doing and to be safe about it. And the like, you don't want to go out there if this is your first time, get this giant dildo and think that, oh my God, they're just going to take it. Because you could hurt somebody. You could hurt your partner very bad. So make sure that you communicate beforehand and educate yourself about it. Again, ask the clerk in the store. That is what they are there for. They have to research all of these toys. So if you go in there and say, we're trying this out for the first time and my partner said I could pick what I wanted, let them suggest some things for you, some dildos, some straps, and all that good stuff, the lubricant and all, because that is why they are in there. That is why they have the store. I know there is Amazon. Amazing. And a lot of people go into there now. They are a lot all over the place now, but you can go in the privacy of your own home right onto the internet and have it sent to you, which, being with COVID as it is, might be your best choice. I do not know if you need an appointment to go in there now. I don't know. So just think of it that way. We are going to take another break here. And when we return, we will, I will talk about, or we'll go through a beginner's guide to pegging. Remember, we're going to end out here with some positions for those who have bad backs or back pain and they want to have the best sex. So there are positions that will somewhat make that less painful for you. So remember that. So go and replenish that drink, replenish that snack, meet me back here, get relaxed, and we will talk more sex with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning back in to the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am still your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, our topic today, just to bring it out for those of you just tuning in, is pegging, which is a taboo or forbidden sex act. Now, that is where the woman penetrates the man through anal sex with a strap-on dildo or with fingers or whatever. But the overall definition does call for a strap-on dildo. Now, let's continue on. Remember, when we are starting this, remember to educate, communicate, and consent. Which brings us to our, if you're interested in, pegging and introducing that into your sexual relationship with your partner. First thing on to do is always talk it out. Communicate. Very, 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 very important. Because granted, it is no longer a sexual act between two men in a relationship. It has been brought out into all sexual acts. I'm assured that most of you out there have already been using your finger, and your partner very much enjoys it. It might just be that somewhat of a fear that a dildo is bigger, and the whole thing with this is that's why you start out with your finger and slowly work into fingers, then 3 fingers. And by the time you get that, you could probably just swap out your fingers for the dildo. Gives a bit of role play there. Also a bit of dominance to the woman. And, there are all kinds of strap-on dildos, all things out there. Go shopping together. There are men's briefs. Get those as well. So you're getting that whole overall experience. But do get this, get this overall education about the act. Especially if it is your first time, but not your partner's first time. It may be something that you are very uncomfortable with. Maybe talking it out over a length of time and then trying it slowly. That's where that may come in with that. Now, anal sex is not uncommon and is probably being used more now than ever. Even then, it was probably done way back in the day, but you didn't mention that. Again, that's where the taboo or forbidden sex act comes in and how it falls into that category. You need to remember that times are changing, and just remember that. A lot of people are more open about their sex and how they like things. Something that comes after talking it out, obviously, is the dynamics of power when it comes to pegging. Obviously, if it's the first time a woman pegs a man, or a man allows a woman to peg him, it could go the other way. The female may have done it already, but the man didn't. And she may have done it in another relationship. It still is the same concept with regards to when beginning. So, it's going to be intense. It's nerve-wracking and may just be overly emotional. It does require, as stated before, a shift in power and dominance in the sexual act, because you are changing roles at that point in time. Hey, your partner might just turn around and tell you to say things that he would have said to you if he was in doggy style doing it to you in your anal. So remember that. Change it over. Talk to your partner. Let him add in how he feels, what he wants. If he wants more, let him say more. If he says harder and you just want to go slower, just talk that out. It's not a problem. Not a problem at all. There is, you got to respect that, where your partner is now becoming submissive and the domination in that has changed over. This way, if you have an understanding or if you are openly talking about it, this, even during the act, this is a way of, one, getting more pleasure for your partner and getting more pleasure for yourself. This way, if you decide to do it again, this time, that time will be a little, this and that time will have an effect on each other, on how you're going to do it, shall I say. Now, most men will tell you that the P-spot is real. Now we're going to go into testing the waters of pegging. You've did the talking. You've understood what the dynamics are coming with regards to power in this whole sexual act. Now, it's basically testing it out, finding out if you're comfortable with it. Like I said, lots of lubrication. Start out with your fingers. If you don't want to put your fingers in regular with nothing on it, get rubber gloves. It might just give that whole added effect of a condom. Who's to say? But do use a lot of lubricant. You're going into a tighter hole than the vagina. Okay? And if you want to look at it as he's a virgin, go for it. But this is also giving you an idea of what they are thinking when they're on that side doing it to you. And so, and you always start out, it's really cool because they have anal dilators, which can help, which make it a little easier to work with. Obviously, there is the, the butt plug, like I had said earlier. You're in foreplay. Before you get heated into foreplay, put a butt plug in. Have him put one in so that when he's getting used to it, he's feeling the difference in the dilation or how sexual his anal is actually changing when he gets sexually aroused and everything. This way you can, the both of you can figure that he can have more of a sense of how that feels. Butt plugs are not uncommon these days. I'm sure there's a lot of people walking around with them in. So don't think that that is a new thing, because it is not. You do want to find a very nice anal massager that will make it that much easier. There are, you could try, there's one like they're little vibrators, and they're like little, I don't know what you call them. They almost look like a giant pellet. That's one way of starting that out. Also, you can get one where it is Bluetooth, and your partner wears it for like the majority of the day, and you're controlling how the vibration and the massage is going for their anal. In this way, they can get used to it. Tend to when they'll probably get turned on up because they can't handle it. Well, then you're doing a good thing, I guess. A way of ways to address this. There are ways, especially if this is your first time. Obviously, if it is not your partner's first time, but it is your first time, obviously you're working up to a level for yourself, because obviously they feel comfortable. You need to feel comfortable with it as well, and be very boisterous about it. Do some private background, some private education for yourself, so that you can, get the scientific side as well as the layman's side. Do not let them force this on you if you do not feel comfortable with this. Tell them first off, no. Or if you really want to try this with your partner, but that first time it's being brought up to you is like somewhat of a little shocker to you, just tell them no, but let me get comfortable with this idea. Let me, look at the little different things that are out there. Remember, both of you have to be very comfortable with this. This is a total difference in the role playing, the dominance, the entryway, and everything that comes along with it. So remember, very important to do all of that first. Now, they do have here, they talk about how, there are women out there, shall I say, who will, have talked about how they peg their partners and how they felt about it. I mean, it's very straightforward once you know what it is and you understand, and you go and get with both you and your partner. Like I said, you may just want to start it out with your next sexual act, starting with a butt plug in them, and let them, you and him go about the sexual act like you usually do, but with a butt plug in for him. A lot of foreplay. You can mess around with it. Take the butt plug out and then put it back in. Mess around with it. See what it's doing for him, how he's, how receptive, how he's liking it. Obviously, if someone has had it done before, they're a little bit more receptive. But if it is both your first times, this way you can see both what's going on. Could be a total turn on for you. Now, you can ask that question this is exactly what I'm talking about. Have you ever fantasized about it? And this is where this would come in. Whereas, some people have tried it with a serious partner, or with in a casual relationship, friends with benefits, or they did both. Who's to say? But a lot of people will sit out and talk about it, and there are some women who actually stated how they have tried it. And you get one that says, I tried pegging with a serious partner after we have been together for about 3 years, and they liked it, Other people will say, yes, my partner was serious. And others would say that they would only do pegging with serious partners who were already into it, because it made it a lot easier for them. Although not being, afraid of trying it with a new partner, but obviously doing it with somebody who has already done it takes out that embarrassment. It takes out that uncomfortable feeling, and you know that they know what they're in for, so they can basically walk you through it. You have people who have only done it once. It was with a serious partner. It's then they stopped because they didn't want to continue to do that. It is all a choice, and as you go on, this choice will change. You don't have to do it every time you have sex. But if you're feeling a little kinky on that day and you just want to try it, go for it. That's why it is there. You have married couples who do it, and who's to say the man, you do it for the first time and they really, really like it, they want you to do it again, but you don't want to continually have it, your sex evolve around that act. So just switch it up some. Sex is all about having fun and enjoying each other. So there's where that would come in. You want to always be comfortable. You want your partner to enjoy what you are doing for them, and basically getting the same enjoyment out of it as you are. So we are going to take a break here. When we come back, we will continue with pegging and some different positions that are really good for getting the most out of pegging, and then finish out with those sex positions that will be very blissful for those of you with back pain, because we want you to enjoy it as well. It is a partner sport and sometimes the loner, but I'm assured you would like it to be a partner sport all the time. So go and replenish that drink and that snack if you like, or just stay there comfortable for more sex talk with Andra.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Our first position is, and this is for, when you're masturbating, and this is really good for women with bad bags. It's called the long handle lovin'. Obviously, you get a vibrator, which is pretty big, I guess, but your shoulders aren't hunched. You're actually laying on your back, and your head is which is on a pillow on the floor, a pretty big pillow, and your head is hanging so that your back is slightly arched. So it alleviates and will kind of stretch out your back a bit and doesn't put so much extra strain there. Hey, men, you can do this too. Another one is the standing doggy style. Being on your knees puts a lot of pressure into your back and a lot of pressure on your knees. And getting out of that position sometimes is very difficult when you have a bad back or back pain. Obviously, the woman is in the doggy position and you are in a standing upright position. Not a lot of upbending for you, which is very, very helpful. The next one is the safety spoons, where both of you are spooning, and entry sexually with your penis or a strap-on dildo if we are pegging, or if it is same sex, it's completely up to you. You are in a very good position where when you're spooning, your paraspinal muscles are relaxed, which is very, very good. And you're not getting a lot of the strain on your back. The next one is the mission sciatica. Obviously, everybody knows what the sciatica nerve is, and those of you who suffer from it, my heart goes out to you, but it is very painful from my understanding. This position is where your partner is on their back. Their legs are pulled up toward their chest. They are holding on to your hips. You're laying on them in the missionary style position, but it's allowing for the entry to be slightly elevated, which helps your spine. There's no, it's not giving you any extended or bending or twisting or anything like that. You're basically in that 90-degree angle, which is a neutral position for your spine, believe it or not. 5, and our final position is the careful lotus. Now you are facing one another. You're sitting on basically your partner's lap with your penis or dildo inside of you. And it allows to really make, it be a little easier for penetration. You can grind the clitoris or, rock back and forth. This way you are not, putting all that strain on your back with the kneeling or the stretching or trying to get in this position that you can't even get your leg up for. So this is really good to basically reach a very good orgasm. So remember that is really good. And there is actually something that's called, it is a together vibrating double. So it's a double-ended vibrator where both of you can enjoy it. Obviously, same sex is going to get a real thrill out of it. If you're pegging, it'll probably do the same. However, when it comes for opposite sex, he has his penis, and that is what it is there for. So let him put it to good use. And this particular vibrator is available at Good Vibes, which is a little pricey, but hey, if you want the best and you want to have the best sex and not the pain, look into it. I'll look into other things that you can use as well. As always, practice safe sex. If not for your partner, for yourself. Remember to educate, communicate, and always have that consent between the both of you. And I thank you for tuning into and listening to the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps not only me, but us as a whole here. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.